sensation amongst the audience. The marrow cleansing pill didn't directly join the auction. There were still many things that were auctioned first. Lu Mu Yen also won a purple monkey flower that was an ingredient required to refine the foundation establishment pill. As for the other manuals, spirit tools and spiritual armor, she didn't need them. But overall, she gained a lot from this auction. The rest in the room also won the items they wanted in general, but because of the appearance of the marrow cleansing pill, they weren't in high spirits. After all the items were auctioned off, Ni Jun smiled and said, "The next auction is an exceptionally significant finale item that the Ming Alliance of Merchants just received. The auction of this finale product will also be personally presided over by our Alliance of Merchants high-level appraiser and the person in charge of the auction of Yanzhou Kingdom, Elder Yi." Wow! Hearing Ni Jun's words, the people below erupted. What sort of significant finale item could personally bother Elder Yi? He wasn't just a Sword King expert, but also a middle-level smith. It was rare to see him come out and preside over an auction. However, it was because of the significance the Ming Alliance of Merchants placed on this that the distinguished guests were ready to make their moves. They were looking forward to this significant finale item. Hearing the excited chatter of the people below, Ni Jun naturally stood to the side. Elder Yi walked up onto the auction stage, and behind him was a beautiful woman holding a tray with a white porcelain bottle on it. Seeing that the auction item was a white porcelain bottle, fierce flames of desire rose in their eyes. This sort of bottle usually contained pills. Alchemists on Tianling continent were scarce, and pills were even scarcer. It was already rare that a grade 1 pill could find its way to the public. This pill must be extraordinary for a Sword King expert to personally come to preside over the auction of it, so everyone was exceptionally expectant and excited. Even those within the private rooms were on the edges of their seats, looking forward to it. Elder Yi coughed gently, and the audience immediately silences. With a gentle smile on his face that made him appear like a spring breeze, he said, "This finale item is personally appraised by this old man, and so it will also be auctioned off by this old man. I believe it will not disappoint everyone." Seeing countless eyes staring at him fervently, Elder Yi smiled in satisfaction and continued, "This time, the finale auction item of our Ming Alliance of Merchants is precisely this grade 2 pill on this tray, called Marrow Cleansing Pill. I believe no one has heard of this Marrow Cleansing Pill before, but its effects are heaven-defying. Although it's a grade 2 pill, it's comparable to a grade 3 pill, and perhaps even more precious than a grade 3 pill." Elder Yi paused, then added. A commotion rose from below. They didn't expect that the item being auctioned was a grade 2 pill that was comparable to a grade 3 pill, and the name alone made people expectant. "Elder Yi, quickly tell us the marrow cleansing pill's effects." Finally, someone who couldn't wait shouted excitedly from below, and he also spoke what everyone was thinking. Elder Yi laughed loudly. "This marrow cleansing pill can wash the marrow and cleanse the body, expand the meridians, and change one's constitution. It's effective to those below Sword Monarch stage and has no side effects. Even this old man can't help but be tempted, so this old man will also join in on the bidding later." Wow! There was another uproar below. Everyone was stunned, then a frenzied look appeared. This pill actually had such heaven-defying effects. "Elder Yi, we've never heard of this pill before, does it really have such an effect?" A doubtful voice sounded from one of the private rooms. Knowing the status of the people in the private rooms were extraordinary, Elder Yi's attitude was rather gentle as he nodded. "Indeed it does have such effects. Everyone must know that the young lady of the Imperial Capital's General's Mansion's Lu clan has the Terminal Meridian's constitution, right?" "Of course we know. Young Miss Trash from the General's Mansion, she's so famous, who doesn't know?" A young male's voice sounded from the private room of the King of Jinshi that carried ridicule but wasn't the king himself. Elder Yi quickly concealed the unhappiness in his eyes, smiled and said, "Young Miss Lu took a marrow cleansing pill recently and not only did she eradicate her Terminal Meridian's constitution, but she also advanced directly from an initial phase sword apprentice to an initial phase great sword master. I'm sure everyone here knows that it's impossible for a person with the Terminal Meridian's constitution to cultivate to a cultivation base above sword apprentice. It was a condition even high-level physicians couldn't cure, but the marrow cleansing pill has accomplished it." Seeing the people below show incomparably shocked expressions, Elder Yi threw out even more shocking news. "There's also a very important point, and that is, after young Miss Lu consumed the marrow cleansing pill, other than eradicating her Terminal Meridian's constitution and unblocking her meridians, she also more than doubled the width of her meridians. This was also what this old man personally confirmed just now. The meridians in her body are indeed more than twice the width of ordinary people. So what did this mean? This meant that after taking the marrow cleansing pill and improving your constitution, the speed of absorbing the spiritual force of heaven and earth would also be much faster than others. This is definitely something you could ask to meet but not ask to obtain one. I won't need to say much more as I'm sure everyone knows its value now." The news provided by Elder Yi completely stunned the audience, and even the experts in the private rooms displayed a burning desire, wanting to put this marrow cleansing pill away into their own pockets. After Elder Yi introduced the effects of the marrow cleansing pill, he handed the auction back over to Ni Jun and sat down in the audience to participate in the bidding. Ni Jun was also tempted, but he didn't have the strength and financial resources, so he could only adjust his mentality, put on a smile, and start the auction according to Elder Yi's instructions. The Ming Alliance of Merchants didn't stipulate that their members couldn't participate in the auction. On the contrary, if a member did participate, then during the transaction, they could enjoy a 2% discount. This was also a benefit for the members of the Alliance of Merchants. There were countless sword masters that wanted to join the Ming Alliance of Merchants, but those that were successful were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns too. One needed both good resources, and naturally, the ability. I believe that what Elder Yi said is very clear, and everyone must understand the value of this marrow cleansing pill. I won't say much more now. Let the bidding begin. The starting price is 10 million ink gold coins. As soon as Ni Jun's voice fell, the bidding started one after another. 20 million. 30 million. 50 million. 80 million. The price continued to climb, and when it was near the end, Elder Yi also bid 100 million. But the price of 100 million didn't stop the enthusiasm of those participating, as the price was still rising wildly. 110 million. 120 million. 200 million. The price of 200 million exploded from a private room. Elder Yi cast his gaze towards that private room, and a sliver of understanding rose in his eyes, but it didn't stop his desire for the marrow cleansing pill. 230 million. 250 million. 260 million. Suddenly, another person joined from another private room. 270 million. Elder Yi continued. 280 million. There was slight rage in this voice, probably because it had reached their baseline. The person in the other room fell silent, then continued. 290 million. 300 million. Elder Yi's face changed slightly, but his tone was still relaxed. He had gained a lot of savings since joining the Ming Alliance of Merchants over the years, so it was fine. The price exceeded the baseline of the other party, and in the end, the other two people in their private rooms had no choice but to stop. After all, in a small, medium-strength kingdom like Yanzhou Kingdom, there were very few people who could take out more than 300 million ink gold coins. In the end, Elder Yi won the marrow cleansing pill for 300 million ink gold coins. Several people pitted that they missed the marrow cleansing pill because they didn't bring enough ink gold coins and decided to inquire about the origin of the pill after the auction. The price also shocked the people in the private room with Lu Muyan. They cast enviable gazes towards her. In an instant she became a wealthy woman. Even if they were given some time to go gather money, they wouldn't be able to come up with this much ink gold coins. Yun Jin proudly flaunted to the several people, "Looks like I made a profit. It's actually worth 300 million ink gold coins." Looking at the handsome face of Yun Jin's that was asking for a beating, Yun Luo couldn't help but give him an "Are you an idiot" look. But he was still very envious within, though it wasn't that he was envious of this cousin obtaining a pill that cost 300 million, but the fact that he obtained the marrow cleansing pill. Xiao Xiang also couldn't help but roll his eyes at Yun Jin, who revealed a face full of cockiness. But inside, he also desperately yearned for that marrow cleansing pill. After today's auction, the marrow cleansing pill would become a sensation throughout the entire Yanzhou Kingdom, and even spread to other kingdoms on Tianling continent. It would become even more difficult to obtain one then. There was killing intent hidden in Gu Yanran's eyes. She couldn't understand why the sky and the earth had turned upside down one in only less than 3 months for Lu Muyan. Aside from her own family background, she was better than Lu Muyan in every way, so why wasn't she the one that obtained that marrow cleansing pill? How hateful she felt. Lu Muyan naturally felt the killing intent from Gu Yanran towards her. But as a once almighty of the spirit world, it was impossible for her to worry about an inferior enemy like her. After the Academy's grand competition, she would properly serve this self-righteous little white flower. The 7th Princess Yun Xian was also exceptionally envious of Lu Muyan, and even felt a little unfair, disliking Lu Muyan more and more. On the surface she continued to wear a gentle smile, but she decided that after returning home, she would definitely discuss this properly with her consort mother. Even if she didn't like Lu Muyan, it would still be beneficial to win her over somehow. As a princess of the empire, and also as an influential and popular student of the Empire Academy's Heaven class, Yun Xian naturally didn't like her limelight to be overshadowed by a woman that was known amongst the distinguished clans as trash in the past. But she also understood how to endure while holding great desire and determination for the marrow cleansing pill. Qi Yixian's face sunk. He was actually very conflicted. He hoped that Lu Muyan was dazzling, and yet he also wanted to hide her away so that she would only shine for him. After the auction ended, Lu Muyan carried the Spirit Devourer to a separate transaction room of the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance to clear the deal. Young Miss Lu has arrived. Sit. Elder Yi waited with a smile on his face in the room, appearing very happy to have been able to win the marrow cleansing pill. Lu Muyan's lips curled up into a smile. Congratulations, Elder Yi. Maybe Elder Yi could even advance to a sword monarch expert after cleansing your marrows. Hearing Lu Muyan's words, Elder Yi was put in a good mood. He had been stuck at the peak phase Sword King stage for more than 20 years. If he could really utilize the marrow cleansing pill's effects to cleanse his marrow and widen his meridians, then he had confidence in breaking through to the Sword Monarch stage. Then he'll accept young Miss Lau's auspicious words. If this old man successfully advances into the Sword Monarch stage, then he'll consider it as owing a personal favor to young Miss Lu. Lu Muyan didn't expect Elder Yi to be this straightforward. A Sword Monarch's personal favor was hard to obtain, particularly becoming acquainted with someone like Elder Yi, who was also a high-level appraiser. Since the other party extended an olive branch to, then Shed naturally accept it, then he'll accept it with thick skin. Elder Yi nodded appreciatively. He usually disliked hypocritical people, so seeing that Lu Muyan could judge the hour and size up the situation 3, was not being hypocritical, and possessed a likable temperament, he felt fonder of this little girl. Young Miss Lu, your marrow cleansing pill was sold for 300 million ink gold coins. After deducting the 2% commission fee for the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance, as well as the price of the Fire Cloud Mink you bought, this is the rest. Elder Yi took out a purple crystal card, ready to transfer the money over. Lu Muyan took out her purple crystal card and handed it to Elder Yi. Elder Yi, could I exchange the ink gold coins into purple gold coins? In reality, ink gold coins weren't that valuable on this land, and only in a small kingdom like Yanzhou Kingdom did 300 million ink gold coins appear to be a huge amount of wealth. Naturally, Elder Yi took the card and directly converted the ink gold coins to purple gold coins and transferred it to her card. Thank you. Lu Muyen put the card away, smiling. Remembering that at the end of the auction many people who had even a bit of power to them came to him and inquired about the person who sold the marrow cleansing pill, he reminded, young Miss Lu, this marrow cleansing pill already made many people with some background notice you, so you must be more careful. After Lu Muyen allowed him to release the news that her terminal meridian's constitution was eradicated after consuming the marrow cleansing pill, he believed that many people would go find her, and even the Lu clan, if they couldn't obtain news off of him. Lu Muyen nodded and said, thank you Elder Yi for the reminder. I know this is unavoidable, so I'm already prepared. Even if she didn't take out the marrow cleansing pill today, the fact that her terminal meridian's constitution was eradicated, and the fact that she advanced to a great sword master, would still attract a lot of attention. Instead of being targeted by a small number of powerful entities that could secretly make trouble for the Lu clan, it was better to let everyone know about the existence of the marrow cleansing pill. It's good to be prepared. If young Miss Lu still has any pills or other rare items to sell, do remember to come to the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance to find this old man. Of course, you can also find other managers with your Silver Ming Alliance token. Elder Yi felt that Lu Muyen was mysterious, had many secrets, and definitely had more nice items. But of course, if I have anything good, the first place I'll definitely think of is the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance. After all, no other alliance could compare to the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance in terms of credibility and strength. Then that's the best. This old man awaits the next opportunity to work with young Miss Lu. Muyen also looks forward to our next cooperation. Lu Muyen stood up, smiling, and said, Elder Yi, my cousin and the others are awaiting outside, so I won't bother you anymore. Let us meet again. All right. Let us meet again. Not long after Lu Muyen left, a red figure appeared in the room. Seeing the visitor, Elder Yi greeted respectfully, Your Highness. Did you give her the silver token? The man's voice was clear with a sense of maturity. Yes, I have given it to her. Elder Yi nodded. That marrow cleansing pill was won by you? Yes. If this marrow cleansing pill really does have the effects that Lu Muyen said, then I will have a little more confidence breaking through to the Sword Monarch stage. The excitement hidden in Elder Yi's eyes didn't escape the man's eyes. The red-clothed man chuckled softly, and his thin lips opened, you can rest assured. That marrow cleansing pill does indeed have the effect, she said. Elder Yi never doubted his master's ability, who knows where that little girl obtained the marrow cleansing pill. It is a pity that she gave the remaining two away. Before Lu Muyen left, he went to inquire again if she could sell one more, but the answer given was that she already gifted them to Yunlan and Yunjin. He sure didn't know if the little girl was too generous, or she had a deeper meaning to her actions. The red-clothed man's lips curled upwards with an incomparably devilish charm, she's extremely shrewd. It's best to be more friendly with the Lu clan from now on. Since working at the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance, Elder Yi had never seen his proud and uninhibited master ever order them to attempt to befriend anyone, let alone see him pay attention to and care about anyone. Despite the many questions he had, he didn't dare ask them aloud, and took his words to heart. Since his master saw promise in Lu Muyen, then later he would order the person in charge of the alliance in Yanzhou Kingdom to be as friendly to the Lu clan as possible. Yes. I will pass on the order to befriend the Lu clan. From now on, send me a copy of all the news about her. Ming Xiu curled his lips. Others didn't know, but he knew that the marrow cleansing pill was definitely refined by Lu Muyen herself. That little woman was becoming more and more interesting. Yes, master. Translated product by Mayar Kum. After Lu Muyen left the transaction area, she went to join Yunlan and the rest. As soon as she exited the door of the Ming Alliance of Merchants, she saw a burly, middle-aged man and a black-clothed, skinny old man stop Yunlan and the others in their steps. When she thought about it, she easily guessed who they were. Muyen, how about I send you back to the general's mansion? Yunlan found Lu Muyen walking out towards them from the entrance and gave her a surreptitious, meaningful look. Just now, the king of Jinshi asked them who bought the fire cloud mink, and although he desperately tried to hide it, but Gu Yanran told them, and now they could only send Lu Muyen away first. Lu Muyen nodded with a smile, sure. Although she said that, she knew that things wouldn't be that simple today, she wouldn't be able to leave easily. Why be in such a rush? The king of Jinshi stretched out his arm to stop Yunlan. He still had business to settle. Then he swept his gaze to Lu Muyen, examining her. With a light purple dress, hair worn in a simplistic style, indifference in her eyes, an elegant and otherworldly temperament, and a beautiful face without powder, Lu Muyen was one of the very few people whose appearance he considered pleasing to the eye. But it was a pity that this beauty was Lu Mo's daughter couldn't touch her. This is General Lao's daughter, correct? Yun Tianzong had seen Lu Muyen before, but she didn't leave any impressions at the time. What he knew more deeply was Lu Muyen's reputation as trash, which he often used to ridicule Lu Mou, king of Jinshi. Lu Muyen nodded, with apathy and distance. She didn't want to show any looks of goodwill to her father's enemy, not to mention the man's wanton gaze made her feel exceptionally unpleasant. You won the fire cloud mink? Yun Tianzong hadn't yet spoken when the skinny old man in black asked Lu Muyen first. Lu Muyen's expression didn't change as she nodded, yes. Hand it over to this old man now, what this old man said before is still valid. I owe you a personal favor. The black-clothed old man was expressionless with a sharp look in his eyes. Apologies, senior, this junior's answer remains the same. Wanting to take advantage of his seniority and age and bully the weak as if she'd allow that. Little girl, this old man is a sword monarch expert. Didn't your father teach you the principle of being kind to others? The black-clothed old man's eyes were full of displeasure and a pressure that only belonged to the strong spread from him. Ever since he advanced to a sword monarch, there were fewer people who didn't give him any face. Lu Muyan's lips curled into a smile, and yet it couldn't be considered a smile. One couldn't understand what she was feeling as she looked at the man's eyes fearlessly. Presumably senior also understands the rules of an auction, right? The person with the highest price wins the item. This has been the unchanging principle since old times. If senior must snatch the fire cloud mink from me in front of the Ming Alliance of Merchants entrance today, then this junior has nothing to say. So what if he was a sword monarch? She's really had enough. Everyone just wanted to step on her these days. What's that all about? She wouldn't tolerate and compromise, but in the face of absolute strength, she wouldn't have a brain cramp too and directly engage in battle with this sword monarch. Just what do you want done so that you can give this fire cloud mink to this old man? The black-clothed old man's face sank. His hoarse voice carried with it a little anger, and the pressure he exuded thickened a little. Lu Muyan narrowed her eyes, straightened her back and bore the pressure the black-clothed old man deliberately released upon her. A layer of sweat rose on her nose and her face grew slightly pale. It was the first time that she had faced a pressure from a sword monarch expert by herself. The gap between 3 major stages truly wasn't a joke. The pressure alone already made her unable to move her feet. If they really did start fighting, then that old man could seriously take her little life in minutes. Yunlan's clenched hands were full of cold sweat. This strong sword monarch expert's face was as thin as sticks, his complexion was slightly green, and hidden in his eyes was an ominous glint and viciousness. This person probably practiced skills relating to the path of the ghost, had an unpredictable temperament, and was definitely cruel and ruthless. He couldn't let Lu Muyan be in danger, but it was inconvenient to leave, so he surreptitiously gave Yunjin a look. Yunjin nodded gently. What Yunlan worried about was what he was worried about. Looking up, he saw that the sword monarch didn't even care about the rest of them, so he silently retreated through the crowd of people and returned to the Ming Alliance of Merchants to ask for help. After a short stalemate, Lu Muyan saw that the other party's face was covered in a shadow and his eyes revealed more and more impatience. With a thought, the palm-sized little white beast landed in her hands, then she smiled at the old man lightly. Senior, how about we make a bet? What bet? The black-clothed old man glanced at the little white beast with a flame of desire in his eyes. Then he raised his eyes and looked at Lu Muyan to see what sort of trick she wanted to play. Since this little beast is important to both of us, then why not see what it chooses? How about that? Lu Muyan smiled generously and said, if the fire cloud mink recognizes Senior as its master, then I will give it directly to Senior, without taking a cent, and I need Senior to owe me that personal favor. But if it still chooses this junior, then it proves that it is more fated with this junior. I ask that Senior let go when that happens. Lu Muyan didn't forget the appropriate respect that should be given to experts, but her attitude and tone was neither humble nor haughty. The black-clothed old man's lips curled up slightly. He probed the fire cloud mink's forehead using his mental energy and discovered that nothing suspicious had been done to its sea of consciousness, so he nodded, fine. He secretly laughed at Lu Muyan's naivety. Everyone only knew that he was a sword monarch expert, but they didn't know that he was also a spirit beast master. It was just a tier 2 demonic beast. Even if he was only a low-level spirit beast master, he could still easily obtain it. Then, Senior, please. Lu Muyan's lips curled up, placed the little beast on the floor, then took a few steps back. Because the auction just ended, there were many people who were attracted by the news of their bet, and those that wanted to watch a show all stopped and crowded around. Seeing Lu Muyan's actions, they guessed that she wanted to yield the fire cloud mink to the sword monarch expert. But to give herself a proper way out of the embarrassing situation, she made such a meaningless bet. Gu Yanran's clenched hands beneath her sleeve suddenly loosened and her eyes revealed a sense of gloating. For a demonic beast, she even dared to offend a sword monarch expert. Lu Muyan was truly an idiot. When the time came when she lost her bet, it was like losing one's army on top of losing one's wife 3. She'd just wait to watch this trash start crying when the time came. And at this time, Ming Xiu, who was about to exit the Ming Alliance of Merchants with Elder Yi, stopped in his steps. He watched with interest as he folded his arms and leaned against a stone pillar at the entrance. Seeing his master suddenly stop, Elder Yi looked at Ming Xiu, befuddled and asked, Your Highness? Let's take a look first. Ming Xiu cast his gaze on Lu Muyan. He sure wanted to see what tricks this little woman would use to win this bet. The black-clothed old man Toliok a couple of steps forward and lifted the fire cloud mink from the ground, a strange smile on his face. He chanted a hex to subdue the demonic beast. After chanting, he cut his index finger with a wind blade made from elemental energy, then dripped a drop of blood onto the little beast's flame-like cluster of hair. With a faint smile on Lu Muyan's face, she folded her arms and watched the black-clothed old man's performance, with ridicule in the depths of her eyes. With this old man's meager ability, he still wanted to subdue the spirit devourer? It truly was a daydream. A cup of tea's worth of time had passed, yet the drop of blood on the fire cloud mink's forehead still hadn't been absorbed into its body. The black-clothed old man was startled, and his eyes filled with a hazy shadow. He took out a red talisman from his interspatial ring, continued to mutter a hex, then he tapped with his thin fingers and the red talisman entered the little beast's body. Afterwards, he formed a Taoist seal in the air that carried strong elemental energy and forcibly inserted it into the little beast's sea of consciousness. The drop of blood on its forehead squirmed a few times. A bright light shone from his turbid eyes. This was his trump card as a spirit beast master for contracting beasts. He didn't believe that he couldn't handle a mere tier 2 demonic beast. Just when everyone thought that the drop of blood would successfully merge with the fire cloud mink's body, there was a sudden change. The black-clothed old man's blood essence directly burst on top of the little beast's forehead, turning into more than a dozen little droplets of blood that splattered onto the old man's face. Meanwhile, the fire cloud mink's entire body began to twitch as if it were ill. Disbelief surfaced in the black-clothed old man's eyes. What? He actually failed. How could that be possible? Squeak. With the black-clothed old man failing to contract the beast, the little beast in his hand not only twitched, but frothed at its mouth and its 4 small paws curled together, whimpering. Those present who knew a spirit beast master had all guessed the reason for the little beast's current reaction. Only when spirit beast masters failed in their force contract would the demonic beast's meridians and internal organs be harmed, then finally convulse until death. Seeing this sort of reaction from the spirit devourer in the black-clothed old man's hand, Lu Muyan's faint smile vanished, and a coldness replaced it. Senior, can you now return the fire cloud mink to me? Lu Muyan suppressed the cold killing intent that emerged in her heart and asked expressionlessly. The pain suffered by her demonic beast today would definitely be returned to this damned old bastard tenfold. Humph, what's the use of a demonic beast that couldn't even withstand a contract seal? The black-clothed old man felt exceptionally displeased right now. He actually failed to contract it in front of so many people. His eyes grew cold, and he quickly condensed a wind blade that carried a strong pressure in his palm. With a swing, the wind blade left his palm and shot towards the little beast's forehead. As if sensing a dangerous power, the little beast's body trembled, attempting to avoid it. But because of its limited strength, it was ultimately restrained by the black-clothed sword monarch, unmovable, and could only wait for death. Right when the onlookers saw that the wind blade was about to fall onto the fire cloud mink's head, they all sighed with pity at what a waste it was to kill a demonic beast that was worth 100 million. Yet who knew that at that moment, a purple misty figure suddenly appeared in front of the black-clothed old man, holding a jade pendant magic tool to block the wind blade, only for it to instantly split into numerous halves. But Lu Muyan's wrist remained blocking the little beast's head, stopping the fatal blow. However, her wrist was marked with a deep bloody wound, and blood flowed down incessantly. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the light purple figure. Blood fell drop by drop from her slender, white arms onto the little beast's pure white fur, then slowly bloomed, as scarlet and dazzling as a red spider lily that grew on the shores in the netherworld. Ming Xiu's face beneath the mask was fearfully grim, and the coldness in his eyes was evidently apparent, as if it would condense into frost. Senior, can you return my demonic beast to me now? Lu Muyan didn't look at the wound on her wrist, but instead looked directly at the black-clothed old man, her gaze cold, as she emphasized each word. The black-clothed old man was startled by the coldness in her eyes, then huffed coldly. This girl suddenly gave him a very dangerous and strange feeling she could not be left alive. As soon as her voice fell, he gathered elemental energy in his palm, then extended his arm to strike Lu Muyan's chest. The black-clothed old man practiced ghostly skills from the Yin sect, so he was exceptionally sensitive to danger. Such inexplicable feelings of unease helped him escape numerous life and death catastrophes. His principle in life was that he would rather kill mistakenly than let anyone go, and when it was necessary to kill, then he definitely wouldn't be soft. So he pretended to be infuriated by Lu Muyan's actions and released the pressure of a sword monarch to its entirety. You dare to stop and provoke this old man, you're seeking death one. Lu Muyan was also infuriated. This damned old bastard was truly pushing her buttons. She closed her eyes, then a silver talisman seal condensed in her sea of consciousness. Taking advantage of the fact that the black-clothed old man was unprepared, she utilized her flash step to its maximum, grabbed the little beast with one hand, then after her phantom flashed a few times, the strong palm strike unexpectedly missed its target. But the speed between the two was too fast, so many of the spectators didn't see clearly, and before they even had time to recall the movements just now, the black-clothed old man took action once again. A long sword appeared in his hand, then he frantically channeled his elemental energy into the sword. Today, he must cut down this girl that dared challenge his superiority, and who could become a hidden danger in the future. After the sword made a buzz sound, he slashed down in the air, and a sword aura that carried violent energy cut down like the autumn gale that swept the fallen leaves too. Where the sword aura passed, cracks spread in zigzags across the bluestone flooring. The crowd all felt the terror of the sword aura and surmised that Lu Muyan was over. Muyan! Yunlan yelled, but even he couldn't stop the trajectory of the sword aura. Lu Muyan narrowed her eyes and continued to form hand seals, and a large web much like a spider's detached from her sea of consciousness. The strength of a sword monarch definitely couldn't be underestimated. Her face gradually paled as her spiritual energy was rapidly being deprived, but a green mental energy tempest was forming in her sea of consciousness. Just when her mental energy was about to exit and turn into a physical shield, a sudden earth-shattering pressure fell from the sky and easily destroyed the black-clothed old man's sword aura. How bold! To dare fight in front of our Ming Alliance of Merchants' door and destroy my shop's FOD. It is unforgivable. A powerful voice resounded across the sky, and the entire imperial capital was shocked by it. As soon as the voice fell, a giant palm of raging fire fell from the sky and headed directly for the black-clothed old man. The black-clothed old man felt that the energy contained in the blazing palm was exceptionally terrifying. Despite being aghast, his hands weren't leisurely as he immediately threw out a shield into the air to block his front, then added a barrier made of elemental energy that covered his entire body. Except, the moment the earth-shattering blazing palm landed, it easily broke through his shield, then struck his chest, and the elemental energy barrier collapsed in an instant. Pu. The black-clothed old man stumbled back a few steps upon being hit before stopping, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His body trembled slightly with terror in his eyes as he watched the person walk over from not far away and addressed, Monarch Ming. Following, a series of soft elemental energy fell from the sky and enveloped the scattered pieces of stone caused by the black-clothed old man's sword aura and slowly pieced together one by one. In just a moment, the bluestone one floorings crack slowly closed and was restored to its original state. Upon seeing this, Lu Muyen retracted the secret skill she was about to use, and the spider thread-like mental energy also dispersed into nothingness, submerged in her sea of consciousness, as if it had never appeared before. Woman, you owe this highness another favor. A male voice with a sense of magnetic maturity brushed past Lu Muyen's ears like a spring breeze. The coldness in Lu Muyen's eyes was replaced by a faint smile. Was indeed Ming Xiu, that devilish man, that acted. When the giant blazing palm struck, she felt the elemental energy fluctuation belonged to Ming Xiu, and an inexplicable sense of trust rose in her heart. Lu Muyen turned around upon sensing something and raised her eyes to see the valiant, tall, and imposing man, wearing a silver mask, elegantly walk over. His red robe danced flamboyantly with the wind, and a domineering aura naturally exuded from him, defeating all the men present. Others were like his foil, just like how the light of fireflies could never compete with the bright moon. Monarch Ming. The black-clothed old man clutched his chest, his face extremely ugly, while his eyes revealed slight fear. He was afraid of this man that walked towards him from the bottom of his heart. Monarch Ming, the highness of the nine-layer hall too that the Ming alliance of merchants was subordinate to. His identity and strength were mysterious and unfathomable, while he acted on whatever he felt like doing, and even had the nickname God of Murder. Amongst the sword monarchs, he was unmatched, and even sword sovereigns didn't dare provoke him. Ming Xiu looked askance at him, his voice as cold as water. You recognize this highness? The name of Monarch Ming has long resounded throughout Tianling continent. Although this old man has never met your highness, but I have already heard of your highness' deeds. The black-clothed old man barely managed a smile while his posture remained very low. Rumor had it that Monarch Ming always wore a flamboyant red robe with a silver, dark-patterned mask, was arbitrary, arrogant, and tyrannical, and upon first glance, it was indeed as such. Seeing the complete reversal of attitude by the black-clothed old man, treating the red-clothed man with respect, the crowd of onlookers wondered, who was this man who had a noble and impressive temperament? It was no wonder that the people present didn't know the name of Monarch Ming. Although he had long become famous throughout Tianling continent, but that was mainly limited to the high-level sword masters. Those sword masters beneath Sword Monarch stage had no way of engaging in many of the land's secrets. Humph, you've heard of this highness name and yet you still dare be so impudent at the entrance to the Ming alliance of merchants. Aren't you very good? Ming Xiu's voice carried a chill and people couldn't help but shudder. I did not intend to offend Monarch Ming. I simply had some disputes with a junior, so I do hope that Monarch Ming does not blame me. The black-clothed old man bent slightly. He could only bow his head in front of formidable strength. Towards Monarch Ming, the black-clothed old man couldn't afford to resist or disrespect him. This man's power was unfathomable, his behavior was devilish and cold, and his temperament was even more capricious than those from the ghost sects. Regardless of who provoked him, they'd end up worse than death. Ming Xiu looked askance at Lu Muyen and a rare expression of a smile rose in his narrow phoenix eyes. With a flip of his hand, a medicine bottle appeared in his palm. It is the negligence of my Ming alliance of merchants to allow young Miss Lu to have been threatened the moment you stepped out of the entrance, right after participating in our auction. Consider this bottle of medicine as an apology. Ming Xiu's voice was cold and indifferent, and one couldn't hear any emotions. He handed the bottle in his palm to Lu Muyen. This highness will give young Miss Lu an explanation. Lu Muyen rolled her eyes inward. Lai sure could act. But she was close to being in the limelight because of the marrow cleansing pill, so if this devilish man displayed any hint that they recognized each other, then that'd be an even bigger problem. Thank you, Monarch Ming. Lu Muyen respectfully reached out her hand and took the medicine bottle, pulled off its cap then and there and shook the light yellow medicinal powder onto her wound. As soon as the wound on the wrist came into contact with the medicinal powder, the blood naturally stopped. The burning sensation also vanished and was replaced by a refreshing sensation. As expected, she knew this devil's items would be extraordinary. He just casually took out a bottle and it was powder from crushed grade 3 healing pills. The black-clothed old man's heart thumped erratically, and the strong sense of unease grew even stronger. He secretly regretted attacking Lu Muyen at the entrance to the Ming alliance of merchants and should have snuck into the Lu mansion at night, kidnap the beast and kill her. As a sword monarch, even if you aren't ashamed of attacking a kid at the great sword master stage, this highness feels it to be irksome. Ming Xiu stretched out his hand lazily and clapped twice. Two masked men in black exuding the pressure of an expert suddenly appeared from the shadows, carrying a dangerous aura. Their cultivation base was also above the old man. Master. The two knelt respectfully and awaited Ming Xiu's order. Give him to the law enforcement unit. Those who dared provoke the alliance must be punished according to the law. The Ming alliance of merchants had announced several rules of theirs long ago, and even organized a special law enforcement unit that specifically punished those that dared provoke the alliance, or those that had malicious intents towards the alliance. After being arrested, they wouldn't be killed, but they definitely wouldn't end up nice. Upon hearing Monarch Ming's plan to give him to the law enforcement unit, terror rose in the black-clothed old man's heart. He knew about that place, and heard that after entering, living was worse than death, and no one would be able to exit without peeling a few layers of skin. 3. Please be merciful, Monarch Ming. I am the outer elder of our Yin sect and plead of your highness to not bother with this matter considering our sect. I will never offend the Ming alliance of merchants next time. The black-clothed old man's posture was very low. Even though he was a sword monarch, but in front of Monarch Ming, he was nothing. He didn't dare provoke this arrogant and domineering man at all. Ming Xiu squinted at the black-clothed old man, greedy for life and fearful of death. It truly was a waste of his cultivation as a sword monarch. Normally he'd be too lazy to take action, but this time this person hurt Lu Mu Yan, which made him exceptionally displeased. He was unforgivable. Take him away. Ming Xiu waved his hand casually at his two subordinates. Monarch Ming, you cannot treat me like this. I am a member of the Yin sect, don't you push people too far. The black-clothed man was essentially a sword monarch. He was already disgraced enough from acting so lowly before, yet Monarch Ming still didn't give him any face. So what about the Yin sect? It has never entered this highness' eyes. Ming Xiu huffed coldly. He had long been displeased with the Yin sect. So what if he killed him in public, let alone just throwing him to the law enforcement unit? The black-clothed old man's heart sank. He mobilized all the elemental energy he had and gathered it in his palm, then bit his fingertip until it bled and quickly chanted an incantation. He'd attempt to escape using the Yin sect's escape skill, the blood illusion method. If he could successfully escape, then he wouldn't be forcefully captured by the Ming Alliance of Merchants law enforcement unit. As for how to deal with the arrest order given by the Ming Alliance of Merchants, he would think of it later. A ray of blood-red light slowly emerged from the black-clothed old man. Just when it was about to envelop him whole, a golden chain flew out from each of the hands of Ming Xiu's two black-clothed subordinate, locking him in place. It even interrupted the secret hand seals he was performing to use to escape. The black-clothed old man's eyes were full of dismay and attempted to use his sword skills to resist. However, he couldn't utilize any of his elemental energy as they were forcefully suppressed by the golden chains, and it was then that horror rose in his eyes. As he was being taken away by the two, the black-clothed old man turned his head and glared at Lu Mu Yan with hostility and killing intent. It was all that little girl's fault today. If he could come out alive from the Ming Alliance of Merchants law enforcement unit's control, then he must refine her into a mummy to dispel his hatred. Lu Mu Yan sneered, this damned old bastard even had killing intent towards her now, but who knew who'd kill who in the future. The black-clothed sword monarch expert being locked by the golden chain, then disappearing with the two men in black caused everyone present to look at Ming Xiu with horror and fear. Just who was this man? Translated product by May Are Come True.